Here we go. Thank you. One back. Okay. Uh, so, good morning, everyone. Great to be here today. Ideas from anywhere, right? Where we're working in a world where uh, things are changing so rapidly. Everybody has access to tools and platforms to build stuff the way they want it. Right? Just 3 years ago, stuff that was pretty much impossible is a $20 subscription to ChatGPT kind of things. So ideas are coming fast and furious, and they're coming from everywhere. I want to spend the next 20 minutes talking about how Salesforce and Tableau are thinking about this new revolution and how we are building it into our products. So before I start on anything else, thank you very much for being curious about analytics. Thank you for you. All of you are, established practitioners, right? The amazing sessions in the morning. So thank you very much for sharing your knowledge. Thank you very much for inspiring me personally. I see a lot of you on LinkedIn and the amazing stuff you put out there, the amazing ideas you create. So thank you, and I highly appreciate that, doing it for the community. Okay, and I'm going to talk about a few things that are roadmap overall for our company. There's products that are not generally available. So please do not make any purchasing decisions based on what I'm telling you today. It's directional. I have to tell you that. Okay, now let's talk about a few things, and then I'll hop down there and give you a demo of what's coming up. Uh, Enterprise analytics has evolved, right? It keeps evolving, it keeps changing. If you look at it, the first phase, right, around 2003, 2004, till it was just about getting data out because we were loading up databases for the first time in human history to that extent. It was just about give me the data. Just give me the data and I'll do whatever I can with it. Then in around 2004, 2005, something happened and a whole bunch of capabilities started appearing to business users, right? Data for the first time moved outside the realm of people who understood large-scale systems to the desktop. And that big change was basically 64-bit computing became ubiquitous, right? People started buying, desktops started appearing on people's workspaces for the first time, right? Many people before that didn't have access to it. There was one department per one computer per department at that point in time, and then computerization sort of took place. 64-bit was out there. Desktops started becoming a lot more powerful. Servers started becoming a lot more powerful. So you could do more. Instead of just seeing data, now you could see and understand it. That's where products like Tableau, Qlik, etc., started building on this to change the paradigm in terms of, hey, you don't need a bunch of experts to do stuff. You can actually go out there and give power to people who are actually closer to the business to go do analysis. Now, we are another revolution. Cloud has pretty much stabilized. It's pretty much the standard. If you aren't on the cloud yet, you're figuring out how to move there. So, and plus, all the new compute facilities that are now available inside of the cloud platforms, right? Open source has kicked off. So there is so many new capabilities that are coming up at such a rapid pace that a lot of you are trying to figure out how to incorporate these capabilities into your tools platform so that you actually make business impact, have better employee experience, better customer experience in every way. So as a part of that evolution, we have come a long way. But if you look at it, data is still complex, right? While we talk about a lot of automated stuff, I like to say someone, somewhere, someday, some human is going to have to talk to data, right? Regardless of all the machines you have. Some human will have to deal with the data. What are the problems that human will have when they deal with the data? The first thing is complexity. The last statistic that and this keeps changing because there's a new poll, IDC or McKinsey or Gartner commissions every week, and the number keeps changing, but apparently an average enterprise organization has 1,000 systems overall, which means 1,000 data stores somewhere. So understanding of data within an organization is a big challenge. Uh, the second thing is when you do analysis, you do a lot of bunch of stuff, it's very difficult to get it back where people are actually making decisions. It's generally, okay, it's in one point, it is with one group of people and they are doing decisions strategically, but it's not just going out there. Analytics is not ubiquitous. It's not like equipping each and every individual to go there and work with data. And finally, stuff that could be possibly automated. For the first time, we have tools and technologies that help us automate some of these things. And so we talk through this and say, these are the things we want to solve for. We want to solve for complexity for the human, we want to solve for accessibility for the human, and we want to solve for support for the human being who has to go deal with the data overall. So imagine all of you use some form of a dashboarding tool. I'm pretty sure, right? No, nobody doesn't have that anymore overall. But if you look at your journey today, somebody comes in, logs into a dashboard, looks at a bunch of stuff, then goes to another screen, makes decisions, or goes into a meeting, has conversations around data. But here is how we are trying to reimagine the data journey. People aren't really interested in dashboards. Dashboards are important, but people are generally interested in metrics, especially people who are operational in nature. I want to know what is inventory doing. I want to know what safety doing. I want to know, how many loans are going out. Where are they stuck? They're interested in metrics. So we reimagine this experience to say that, hey, why don't we give people a digest of metrics, which we can start with. Then they get to explore the details, dive deeper into whatever interests them. Then use the power of AI to look at, hey, what is happening? Get key drivers, outliers, trends, etc. Something that is interesting about that metric and put it out to them. Give them the ability to ask follow-up questions because you can't design a dashboard for everything. You have to figure out a way to give them, instead of getting into a queue with an analyst or doing, self-serve themselves, dump it into Excel kind of a thing. And finally, they want to share it, right? It's just one journey. In another, they might want to kick off an action in another system, so on and so forth. There's a whole bunch of this. So this is what we imagine the journey to be. And with that, I will step down there and give you a quick demo of this. Okay, this is something we call Tableau Pulse. Now, right up at the top over here, you can see is a headline. It's saying that, hey, welcome, this is what's going on in your world. Let's say I'm a store manager. Maybe Saurabh talked about, let's say I'm store manager for a similar store that sells appliances. Sorry, distortion. Okay. Down below, it actually tells you, you're tracking 12 metrics. Here are the metrics that are normal. Right? I'm not really bothered about normal stuff. I'm more interested in, hey, tell me something interesting so that I can go chase up on it. It goes in here and says, this is it. And down here, you get a metrics card for each metric that you're following. And it goes in and says, here's what is happening to appliance. Right? It's a little bit, some numbers, a whiz that tells you, how that metric is trending. And down here, generated by Tableau GPT, is a little blurb which tells you in natural language what's going on. So it says the week-to-date appliance sales has seen an unusual increase. Right? So it just did some stat analysis, it found an outlier, put it out there, and says it's outside of the normal range. Now that's interesting. I want to go check up on that. So I go deeper. And the moment I go deeper, it just drills down into that metric, gives me that focus, and say, here is what is happening. Here's the date range. By the way, one of the challenges with AI is make sure that data is trusted. Where's this data coming from to generate trust on it? So it gives you, here's the metadata behind it, here's what's happening, so that the people who are looking at this can actually go trust this data. Then, down here, it gives me a bunch of questions that are suggested, right? They're saying that here is what you can ask, right? A prompt to start with. Because many times people will say, hey, what do I ask? What should my next question? Tableau GPT is going in here and saying, here is the bunch of next questions you can probably ask. And then down here, you get a description of that. Let's pick one of these questions, right? So say I selected, what's driving change. So it gives you that prompt over here. And down here, it produces a visualization plus a bunch of description around telling you, hey, what's going on here? And you can go ahead, oh, interesting, it looks like I'm selling a lot more air fryers. So I can go ahead and ask my next question over here because I thought air fryers is interesting. So I went in and said, what else should I know about air fryers? And I hit enter, and it goes in. It now looks at, air fryers is basically a dimension somewhere. It's a criteria somebody else is tracking air fryers. And it says, okay, I found another metric in which air fryers, seems to be doing something interesting out there, and that is inventory fill rate. This is the machine learning that's connecting on the behind and saying, okay, tell me everything that is interesting about air fryers across my entire range of metrics. And I go in there and I say, okay, looks like, hey, inventory fill rate is dropping. So basically, I'm headed for, people are buying this, but I'm headed for a customer service problem because I may not be able to deliver on time, or my deliveries would be delayed overall. Finally, I can go and say, oh, this is interesting, so maybe I need to work with someone to solve this problem, right? Because somebody at the warehouse or somebody in procurement, and I can say, okay, share this with someone, and let's say I shared it with Katie, and by the way, the description again, the text there is generated by Tableau GPT, so you don't have to go write this stuff. You can go edit it at any point in time, but it's generated. And I can say share. And the moment I say share, it goes over, and in this case, it appears in Slack, but it could be email, Teams, whatever places people work at, right? And it says, okay, check this out. And by the way, I can do the same thing in Slack. And I can drill down, ask next questions. So you can connect to the data and converse with your data from wherever you work, not just within the confines of a single screen overall. So this is what it is, right? So imagine this, in a space of a few minutes, Tableau Pulse told me, here is a problem, here is what is causing that problem, here's something interesting about it, now go and collaborate with someone else on this, right? So I was able to go to insight to action in the space of a few minutes. And that is why we call it, pulse. Get a pulse on your business and, take the next steps. Now, how do you create these metrics? It's 3 simple steps to create metrics. Some of your Tableau customers here, exactly what I'm going to talk about. So for example, if I hit step 1, create new metric, select a data source. All these data sources are your regular Tableau data sources. All the effort that you have made to plug into these data sources, to create those data pipelines, everything is reused. So for example, I just selected my ESG data source, connect to it. The second thing I need to do is pick what do I need to create a metric from. Let's say I want CSAT, I want it over survey date, and I can do a whole bunch of stuff around it, right? I can give units of measure, I can say stuff like, increase is good, decrease is bad, all that sort of metadata I can generate around the metric so that the machine learning can pick that up and work efficiently trying to figure out what to do. And then I just save. That's 3 steps. And then it goes further. Tableau GPT now says, oh, I looked at your data source. There is a possibility that you can create other metrics out of this. So I'll say, okay, try it. And it says, okay, here's a bunch of other metrics I can generate. I can switch some of them off, but let that just be. And I say save. And that's it, right? My metric is created. All the algorithms at the back will be able to connect into this, do all the outlier analysis, all the story generation, etc. around that. And this is now instantly available as a digest in email, on a mobile app, uh, in dashboards, because dashboards are still there, or in Slack. Okay, I am going to go back to my PowerPoint. Oops, sorry. Okay, I'm back. Sorry, I had to do that. But that was Tableau Pulse, right? It was focused on getting people from point A to point B with their data with the least friction. You automate what you can via the GPTs and all the machine learnings. By the way, there's a whole bunch of stats out there. So just to look at, sort of break down the layers on Tableau Pulse. Tableau Pulse, the fundamental driving force is what we call the metrics layer down there, which is a lot of work is going on this front. You're building data pipelines, you're building governance layers, you're putting metadata layers over the top of that. There's a whole bunch of stuff. We want to leverage all of that. And that plugs into Tableau's metric layer. And the metric layer is where you define all of stuff, becomes a single source of truth. And then you have the Insights platform. By the way, the Insights platform is fully deterministic tested code, right? Because you don't want a probabilistic algorithm doing math for you, right? You want something that is completely deterministic. And that's what our Insights platform is. It basically does all sorts of outlier detection, anything with respect to trends and relationships, clusters, all the interesting patterns in the data, Bayesian stuff, all of that it finds out and surfaces out through the next-gen experiences, right? Which makes it appear across all the places that you need to work with your data. So whether you want to working in Slack or on dashboard on a mobile app, it makes sure it surfaces there. Whether you want to take it and embed it somewhere else in your own web app, it lets you do that. And all of it is enhanced by Tableau GPT. And while I just showed you one use case of Tableau GPT, Tableau GPT, we talked about, Dr. Vijay talked about, Ravi talked about, code generation. We are able to do, Tableau calculations via GPT. We have an analytics assistant in there. So there's a whole bunch of features. I just talked about one where it is enhancing the end user experience, not necessarily the developer experience, right? Finally, right, what we want is analytics has to be, there's talks about hyper-personalization and assortment. The same thing applies to your enterprise analytics, right? Are you putting the right things in the right place for the right people so that they can move your enterprise ahead? And that's what we want it to be. We want analytics to be personalized, contextual, and smart, delivered with all the good stuff that Tableau has built over a period of time. Tableau, and many of you know this, Tableau did not set out to create a BI tool, right? It came out of a research project at Stanford to explore data and human interactions, right? And out of that, our founder said, hey, this is interesting, let's build a company around it. Now we're coming to the next generation where it says, okay, there's a next generation of technologies which enhance that overall experience of humans with data, and what are we going to do to build it? So Tableau Pulse is our first attempt at that. With that, thank you very much.